Good afternoon, and welcome to the afternoon session of the Landmarks Preservation Commission's public hearing and public meeting of April 7th, 2026. We are resuming with public hearing item number 3, and I'll turn it over to our Director of Preservation, Corey Harala.
Thank you. Public hearing item number 3 is LPC 26-03445, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 142, Lot 17, 37 Harrison Street, 37 Harrison Street House, William B. Nichols House, individual landmark. This is a federal-style townhouse built circa 1828. The application is to install fences, trellises, and gates at the shared rear yard.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. My name is Christine Hansen. I'm an architect working with the owner and the landscape architect. We are seeking permission to build a low fence and gate at the backyard. 37 Harrison is one of 9 privately owned single-family townhouses that are individual landmarks. They were saved in the 70s. They were physically relocated in the 70s as part of the master plan for Independence Plaza and the Washington Street urban renewal area. Our proposal is to just give the owners a little bit of privacy and delineation for their backyard space. You can see in the plan the area that's hatched is their backyard. The 9 townhouses abut this courtyard space that is all privately owned. Our backyard is not visible from any of the public streets. Though you can get to this area via the walkway through Washington Walk, but it's not immediately known. It doesn't feel as if that's public space at all. This drawing shows a little bit of context about the fences and different kind of barriers that have been built over time. One of the main issues that's come up for everyone in the community board and in previous landmarks hearings is that there is a pedestrian easement that runs through this courtyard space. So that's kind of been a confounding factor to getting approvals for any kind of work in the backyard. 27A did successfully get approval through landmarks and DOB to build their fence, and our proposal is identical to the one at 27A. 25 Harrison Street also worked with LPC to build their permanent fence along Greenwich Street. This is a photo showing when the houses were originally moved, all 9 of them, before the residential complex of Independence Plaza sprouted up around it. You can see the backyard of Harrison, 37 Harrison Street, and the wooden porch. This is the front of 37 and another shot of the back. On the left is the existing conditions plan. We're not doing too much building. It's already partially defined by the neighbor at 27A and also some raised planters that were part of the original courtyard built in the 70s. This shows the green screen fence that we're proposing. It's black painted metal. The wooden gates, there's 2 of them. They have an arched top to them, and they're not locked. They're kind of like a saloon style swinging door, similar to 27A. everyone's sort of made the gesture. Everyone in this area knows that there's an easement. They've kind of made the gesture to make it open, just by like not putting something in the way. But the whole area is just kind of like a disorganized collection of furniture and kids' toys. It doesn't really have a sense of space. I think that our proposal is trying to be gentle about, you know, its construction and kind of like giving a secret garden feeling to it, and just defining the space and trying to make it nicer instead of so disorganized. On the top left is well, you can see on the two left-hand photos, the old one, there used to be, we found this old plan, you know, the easement, I think it was a fire egress easement that had access off Greenwich Street. There was two large double gates, 8 doors, and 25A has removed those gates and blocked it off. So like everyone has been making moves towards ignoring the easement. And I think the rationale is that it's 50 years old, the easement. There are new safety codes with respect to fire and fire trucks and fire code and having safe buildings. So we feel it's just not relevant anymore. I think that's everything I wanted to say.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Okay, Commissioner Chen?
Unrelated landmark. So in these 50 years, how many times have the fire truck been in the back?
Well, let's see, not since, yeah. I don't know. I mean, they can't, the fire trucks now are too wide to get back there. Are you making a joke? Okay. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Is there anybody in the room who would like to speak on this item? Noting that there isn't, I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth Lee to see if we have any remote testimony.
Those joining via Zoom who wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. You'll be promoted to panelist, after which we ask you to unmute, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. The first speaker will be the Historic Districts Council.
Hello, my name is Emma Bartley, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. HDC does not object to the design of the proposed fence and gate in aesthetic terms. However, we are concerned that the gate, even if unlocked, interrupts the public easement. If this passage is indeed intended to remain publicly accessible, it should continue to read as such and not be visually or physically discouraged by a closed gate. HDC therefore suggests that the applicant consider omitting the gate while retaining the rest of the fencing treatment, so that the passage remains clearly open and legible as a public right-of-way. Thank you.
The next speaker will be John Graham.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Graham for the Victorian Society, New York. We find the proposed fence to be appropriately scaled and designed and largely in keeping with the character of these early 19th century buildings. It is also similar to other fences behind houses in the area. However, unlike the other fences and gates, these fences would obstruct public access. The easement isn't mentioned in the Commission's 1966 designation report, but we assume it was part of the agreement to locate these buildings. Public access to the backs of the houses was an important feature. The gates, even if left unlocked, will discourage public access to this individual landmark. Thank you, Commissioners.
Anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none, I'll note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 1 recommends approval.
Thank you. Do you want to respond to any of the comments?
Physical access and visual access are two different things for sure. But I think the fact is that there's no reason why people would want to traverse somebody's backyard. The easement is in place was put in place for safety reasons that do not exist anymore. And on the LPC permit that was issued to 25 Harrison Street, it says that though the original site plan included an easement, subsequent construction of street furniture and plantings along Greenwich Street have eliminated the access, and that the FDNY has not provided confirmation that this access is still needed. I also reached out to the FDNY and showed them our proposal, and they declined to comment on whether or not the easement was necessary, saying that the acceptability of the proposed fence and gate and the applicability of any easements must be made by the DOB. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Ginsburg?
This is a question probably for council. I presume the easements are something the DOB should deal with and not us. Is that correct?
That has been our view, and also the fire department. We just said that because these easements were for safety for the most part, and we wanted to make sure that nothing we did, and in fact, our prior approval said that if there's an objection, they have to come back to us.
So we could do this approval the same way.
I understand.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Goldblum, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Chen, would you second that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Jefferson, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. This is totally appropriate. I mean, we approved the fence at 27A a couple of years ago. So approving this fence is appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum?
Yeah, from a landmarks point of view, I think it's fine. I'll betcha that the easement is in order to allow for the fire truck turnaround, which is still on the books, very much so in the fire code. You're required, because Washington Walk is a dead end, a fire truck that pulled into it would not be able to get out of it. And that's why they make you have either a really big circle at the end or something like this. So I don't think that the easement went away, but that's not our problem. And best of luck to them. And if there really was a fire, the truck could run over the fence and it wouldn't be a big deal.
Commissioner Chen?
Yeah, appropriate.
Commissioner Mayen?
Looks fine.
Does anybody have any other thoughts on this? If not, Commissioner Jefferson, would you like to read the motion?
I note that the federal-style townhouse, including 37 Harrison Street, were located in an urban renewal area during the 1960s. That the townhouse was designated individual landmark in 1969. That 3 of the townhouses, including 37 Harrison Street, were moved to Washington Walk from Harrison Street in 1971. Staff also notes that in 1976, the townhouse were sold to private owners, and the terms of the sale of the townhouse required that the building be restored and changes be approved by the commission. Staff further note that various regulatory documents associated with the sales refer to specification for the maintenance of any changes to the porches, railings, decks, and steps at the rear, and that are public pedestrian and fire access easements that provide public access to various portions of the side and rear yard, and that require that the access lane be kept clear of impediments of physical access by the fire department. I recommend approval, finding that the work will not alter or eliminate any significant architectural features, that the proposed fence, trellis, and gates will not be visible from the surrounding street.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum, would you second that? Thank you. And Mark, will you call the vote? Oh, wait,
Vice Chair Master?
what was that? Oh,
But-
I'm sorry, Commissioner Jefferson, I think there's,
Not finished.
yes. Sorry.
That the proposed placement material, that the proposed placement and material and finish of the fences, gates, and trellis are in keeping with the typical rear yard accretions at buildings of this type, style, and age. That there's an easement that authorizes the FDNY to review and approve permanent intrusions in the rear yard. And if the fire department decides that this area must be kept clear from any permanent intrusions, the applicant must return to the commission with the application for work that is compliant, and that the work will not detract from the special architectural and historical character of the building, site, or adjacent individual landmarks.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum, would you second that? Thank you. And Mark, will you call the vote?
Vice Chair Master?
Aye.
Commissioner Chen?
Aye.
Commissioner Chu?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginsburg?
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum? Commissioner Quimby?
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson?
Aye.
Commissioner Mahan?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilder?
Aye.
With 9 in favor and none opposed, the motion passes.
Thank you. I just want to thank Emma, and congratulations, that's been approved. Let's move to the next item.
All right, next item is public hearing item number 4, LPC 26-06015, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 635, Lot 4, 739 Washington Street in the Greenwich Village Historic District. This is a Greek Revival style row house built in 1845, and the application is to construct rooftop and rear yard additions and excavate the rear yard.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Erin Ruley, Higgins Quays Barth and Partners. We're the preservation consultants for this project. I'm joined by Marcus Zemke of Marcus Zemke Architects. I'll take you through the presentation, and the team's available for any questions you might have. So we're starting here with 739 Washington Street. It's located on the east side of Washington between Bank and Bethune Streets in the Greenwich Village Historic District. It's a 3-story Greek Revival row house that was constructed in 1845. And the scope of work that we're going to be looking at, we have the existing on the left and the proposed on the right, a new penthouse extension at the rooftop, stair bulkhead and mechanical equipment at the roof as well. There's a chimney extension, a full height rear yard extension, and then excavation, a small amount of excavation at the basement level to achieve a reasonable ceiling height, and then a small amount of excavation at the rear yard. So here's the overall context. 739 is located right here. It's immediately adjacent to the Roy Lichtenstein Studio, which may look familiar to some of you. Was converted in 2022 for the Whitney Museum's Independent Study Program, and the Commission approved this 3rd-story addition at that time. And so here, looking north along Washington Street, the Whitney ISP is in the background, and then 739 is located immediately to the south of that. This is all across the street from West Beth as well. Sorry. Here is an aerial view of the block and the massing diagram for the block itself. As you can see, the east side of the block is fairly regular and typical conditions with a donut and large apartment building on the east side. But the area where our site is located is very irregular, typical mixed-use West Village West Village block, but the site is effectively hemmed in by the ISP building on the north, and then a large converted industrial building directly to its east. And we're going to look at that evolution a bit as we go through this, but the building has been effectively hemmed in by all of the later construction due to the evolution of the block itself, and both the addition and rooftop addition and the rear yard extension are very consistent with similar approvals throughout the village that have similar circumstances. So they have a lot in common with instances where this has been approved by the commission. So jumping in, the building was originally constructed as one in a row of 4 houses. So 739 is located here, and the remainder of the row is to the south. So 733, 735, and 737, all 1845 Greek Revival. You can see in the diagram on the bottom, the 735 and 737 were coplanar. And then the 2 other houses, because of the irregularity of the block form itself, but also the angle of the streets, you start to get sort of this position of the planes at the rear of the rear facades of the buildings at 733 and 735. And in this historic map from the 1850s, you can see the mixed use. There was a plaster mill and a sash factory in the middle of the block. So that really divided the block between what was happening at the east end and what's happening at the west end, which was all originally houses along Washington Street. In the 1860s, number 737 got a full height extension of 8 feet, which brought it to its essentially its current condition, extending out 8 feet. And that's directly to the south of us, and that was the building that was coplanar at the time of original construction. And then there is a 2-story extension off of the back of that. And this is a historic American Building Survey drawing that shows that original extension or that early extension in the 1860s and what is examined in the diagram itself. Then in 1899, 733 was replaced by a 5-story tenement building, which we see here on the corner. You can see this is 735 Washington right here. So now we've lost one in the row of 4 at the corner. And then that also blocks the opening that previously existed from Bank Street looking north. And so continuing the building has a larger footprint than what was there, obviously, historically. And also at that time, 123 Bank was constructed. So in 1907, I believe, 123 Bank is constructed. It's a cooperage that extends all the way back. So this is 3 buildings to the north of 737, and it extends all the way to the middle of that block and is currently a full 6 stories. And then finally, the 3 buildings to the north in 1912 are replaced by the building that would eventually become the Lichtenstein Studio building at 745 Washington Street. When that was originally constructed, it was 2 stories at the front and only 1 story all the way at the back. And then it evolved over time. It had a series of additions, and then ultimately resulting in the final addition added in 2022. And so all of this has, that's very strange. This is essentially the condition that we're working with today, where the historic building is disconnected from any part of its original row and is hemmed in by a very irregular collection of buildings and building types. Here's the existing condition today. The 2 upper floors of the building are the original brick wall, and that has been, we'll look at some of the conditions there, and then a very deep glazed extension that extends out past the adjacent addition. So this is the 737 addition to the left, and this is the glazed extension in the current condition. The upper wall has been rebuilt in parts, has obviously had very many campaigns of repointing. There's some brick displacement and open joints all along the gutter line from water infiltration. All of the lintels have been rebuilt, and I think they've been slightly depressed. I suspect these were segmental arches, and they've just kind of been flattened out when they were rebuilt. You can see some of the conditions above that. So all of the area above the reconstructed lintels has been rebuilt, and you can see evidence of stepped cracking. And the joints at the parapet are much larger than the joints below. Again, I think there's just been various campaigns of reconstruction for that brick wall. And the intent here would be in reconstructing the wall in the new plane would be to match historic lintel profile. The sills were originally brownstone. There are 2 brownstone sills left, and the remainder are bluestone or blue stone tinted cast stone or precast. And so to have new cast stone, brownstone sills to match the historic and to match the brick so that it has a certain truthfulness to the historic appearance of the wall itself. And then just in terms of the existing condition, this is the extension at 737. It was, again, 1860s extension. It was approved by the commission, I think, in 1999 to be refaced and reconstructed. And it has this double-story glazed opening and then these very deeply recessed arched openings on the upper portion of the facade. And this is visible from Bank Street as well. And then the existing rear yard, and looking up toward the ISP building here. So the overall proposal, restoring the front facade, restoring all of the lintels are and sills are painted at this point. So restoring the brownstone finish to those and giving them profile to match the Greek Revival details that would have been original to the building. And then up at the rooftop, new planter and railing. The penthouse extension, this is the extension to the chimney that's proposed, and then a stair bulkhead and mechanical enclosure as required by code and railing. The palette is a sort of warm gray stucco finish to recede from view on the penthouse. Metal multi-light windows at the rear, painted with a black finish, and the brownstone finish for the sills and lintels. Whoops, sorry. Overall elevation, you can see all of those elements together, the profile of the restored lintels and entry lintel, and then up at the rooftop, those elements, the chimney, mechanical enclosure, bulkhead, and railing. In section, so here's the existing roof section. This, in the background, you see the roof of the ISP. This is the 3rd story. And then they have stair bulkheads and elevator bulkheads in the distance and the existing chimney. And so in that context, the new penthouse, it'll be set back 15 feet from the front facade, which is angled, so it varies from 14.5 to 15 feet across the angled facade. And then at the rear, the full height extension and the penthouse will be held back 3 feet from the parapet of the rear extension so that you get the break between the lower volume and the upper volume of the addition, and then the new mechanical bulkhead, stair bulkhead, apologies. Roof plan, all of that in plan, and then at the rear. So all of those elements we just discussed, stair bulkhead, mechanical enclosure, the reconstructed facade in the plane of 737 to match. There'll be a new glazed extension at the rear. This comes out to exactly the same location as the current glazed extension. And then there's that small amount of excavation in the rear yard to match the excavated yard of 737. And then that condition and elevation, there's a a balcony that extends at the first floor level with glazed pavers to allow light to extend down to the basement level. And then, so we're going to take a walk around the block. There is visibility primarily from the south along Washington Street, and then oblique views from Bank Street. And then, of course, we have a break in the street along Bank Street, so we'll catch a glimpse of what's happening at the rear there. The bulkhead, this is the extended chimney for our neighboring building at 737. And then we catch the top of the penthouse addition, that view. Similarly, moving a little bit to the south, that view of the penthouse addition and the chimney. And then we'll look at this a bit more in context. This is just the mock-up, not the rendered view. But again, in the context of everything happening behind it, there will be visibility of the penthouse itself, and the other accretions, bulkheads, and mechanical enclosure. And then we have this gap in this street wall at Bank Street. This is the rear wall of 737, and our mock-up is located up above that. So looking at all of this in context, here's the view from the corner of Bank and Washington, where you're just catching the very top of the penthouse and the new chimney extension, and here it is rendered in to the view. So just a slight line, and it's up against the ISP to the north. That view showing this is the point of maximum visibility, this oblique view, largely resulting from the angled streets and the irregularity of the block. And we have the penthouse becomes visible here, the bulkhead and mechanical enclosure. But again, seen against the context of taller buildings in the rear. And then moving to the rear, the zoomed in view. Currently, there's the gap between 737 and the ISP building, which is here. And so it would fill that gap. Again, the intent is to match the historic brick color and texture, and the historic cornice line, and that top floor of windows, the part that will be visible would read very similar to the historic wall condition. And then above that, we have the mechanical enclosure, the penthouse setback 3 feet, and the bulkhead in the distance adjacent to the ISP bulkhead. So understanding that both of these conditions are rather atypical for the commission to approve both visible rooftop additions on row houses and full height rear extensions, we looked at other examples where these types of approvals have been made. And so these are all in Greenwich Village Historic District, and all exhibit a similar set of characteristics to what's being proposed today. 105, 107 Bank Street on the left, fairly recent approval by the commission. There's a visible penthouse here, and also visible from a break in the street wall from the south, the addition here. And this is afforded due to the irregularity of the street pattern, the sort of broad angled views. Similarly, 44 Horatio Street, the penthouse studio extension at the rooftop, highly visible due to a playground that is in front of the house itself. And then 65 Horatio, where the penthouse small sort of bulkhead addition was added at the rooftop. And again, because of these incidental views that you have throughout the village due to the irregular streets. But in finding all of these appropriate, the conditions, the commission found that they're seen in the context of other tall buildings, and in a varied streetscape where it's not isolated or detrimental to the reading of the building or the row. So for instance, in the case of 44 Horatio, it's adjacent to a much taller building next door, and seen in that context rather than in the middle of a row, of an unbroken row. Similarly, for the full height rear extension, where the commission has approved the full height extensions, it has been where the connection to the historic row has already been broken. So other extensions or other building types that interrupt the row. And here are two cases. Both are visible rear extensions, full height. First at 52 Charles Street, which extended the full height to match the adjacent building and included a penthouse. And this is all visible from 7th Avenue. And then 83 Horatio from 2017, which also came back, I think, recently for changes, but a full height extension and penthouse above that. And in that case, there was no adjacent row, but it was because of that discontinuity of the context that the commission found it appropriate. And so finally, just to show you what the conditions of this rear yard really are, this is looking down from the roof level. We have a diagram showing you the surrounding context. All of the tall buildings that kind of bifurcate the block were not only larger, different building types, but they have also been expanded through commission approvals over time because they were converted for residential use and all received either an additional story or an additional story plus. So that's what you're seeing in this background here. And then looking down into the yard to understand the relationships. ISP, this is a full 3+ story wall, and then our building, and then the 737 building to the south. So looking down at our glazed extension, this is the rear yard. This is the ISP wall. This is 123 Bank Street, and this is 737 here. So it is effectively hemmed in on all sides. This is the view from the rooftop looking at 123 Bank Street. So this is that extra story that's been added over time when the building was converted. The ISP is here, so that it rises above the roof level of the current building, and then in addition has its bulkheads, and then looking at the full height of 123 Bank Street in this view, and the side elevation of 737. So it's really a very atypical situation where everything around it has expanded and there is no connection really to anything, any donut or green space in cases where the commission, where applicants have come forward to propose extending the top floor and the commission has denied that extension. I think it's more typically in a donut or some sort of more regular block situation where there is shared green space. There is no benefit from a shared donut in this condition. There's no backup yard or something where there's openness that helps create a better yard condition. And so we think that the proposal really is very consistent with others where the commission has acted to allow full height rear and roof extensions. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Ginsburg?
I'm trying to figure out, I was looking in the appendix on page 37, and it looks like the stair up to the bulkhead is a spiral stair, but there's no plan of the bulkhead. The bulkhead is significantly bigger than the stair. What's happening up there?
Yep, I'm Marcus Zemke from Zemke Architecture. What we're actually showing is the extension of the same plan is sort of carried across you're landing up to an upper landing on the east side. So it's actually larger than the footprint of just the spiral stair itself. I don't know if I can actually, can I diagram on this?
No.
Oh, no, you can't. Okay, got it. So I'm just trying to,
When you point to that, it will show up on the screen. The cursor is showing.
Okay. So so just carrying that footprint across, the spiral stair is in the lower half of this bulkhead, and we are landing up to this eastern portion, which is the landing within the bulkhead itself.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, let's see if we have any testimony from anybody in the room. Noting that there isn't, let me turn it over to Elizabeth Lee to see if we have any remote testimony.
Those joining via Zoom who wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. You'll be promoted to panelist, after which we ask you to unmute, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. The first speaker will be the Historic Districts Council.
Hello, my name is Emma Bartley, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. HDC is primarily concerned that the rooftop addition is too visible from surrounding streets, especially Bank Street, and asks if the applicant can pursue refinements to decrease its visibility. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Chloe Gregoire.
Good day, Commissioners. My name is Chloe Gregoire. I'm speaking on behalf of Village Preservation. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. Considering all of the changes to the rear donut of this block has faced over the years, we can find the proposed full-height extension to be acceptable in this instance. However, we strongly oppose the current proposal for the rooftop addition, which is excessively large and overly visible. At absolute minimum, it must be set back to the plane of the original rear facade and not extend to the edge of the new rear. Overall, the rooftop addition is far too visible over both the primary and side facades. This includes prominent views from points west along Bank Street looking east into the historic district, a significant line of sight that should not be impeded by this modern addition. We ask that the design, size, and massing of this rooftop addition be rethought, and we agree with Community Board 2 that this building may not be able to handle more than a stair bulkhead, given the break in the street wall and numerous points of visibility from both Bank and Washington Streets. As always, we ask that extra care be given to the excavation work to ensure the safety of this building and its neighbors. Thank you.
The next speaker will be John Graham.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Graham for the Victorian Society, New York. We find the proposed changes appropriate to the rear of this 19th century row house. For buildings such as this, we normally recommend keeping at least the top floor intact to preserve a sense of the original building's presence and outline. However, in this case, we do not object to the proposed rear yard addition. The reasons are that the building isn't part of an intact row at the rear. The addition won't project beyond the neighboring buildings. There are no unusual architectural features at the top floor. The extension at the top floor will match the design and configuration of the historic top floor. And the block configuration means there is little sense of a contiguous open space at the backyards. We do object, however, to the changes to the rooftop, as seen on pages 22 and 23 of the applicant's presentation. The chimney extension and penthouse addition would both be very visible from Bank Street and from Washington Street. There is a lot of additional floor space proposed for this building. We suggest adjusting the designs to further minimize visibility from the street. Thank you, Commissioners.
Anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none, I'll note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 2 recommends mixed approval. Approval of the front facade restoration, a minimal rear extension, the replacement greenhouse, and the cellar excavation with underpinning, and denial of the rooftop addition or any other rooftop structure apart from the required stair bulkhead.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to respond to any of the comments?
So first, the excavation work will all be undertaken as through the Commission's enhanced engineering review at the Department of Buildings, and so we'll be complying with all of those requirements. The visibility from Bank Street, I would just note that we have, since the Community Board, significantly reduced the overall height of the addition at the rooftop. I believe it was an adjustment of 2.5 feet or so. We had a pitched roof when they reviewed it. So everything has dropped down significantly since that time. The visibility from Bank Street, which is the primary point of visibility, is an oblique view. And again, because of the the nature of the street pattern within the historic district, you get these broad views that are typical. And again, it's all seen in the context of the taller buildings in the background and the adjacent building to the north. So it's sort of bookended. And we think that it sits rather comfortably because of the sort of neutral palette and minimal profile of the house, the penthouse itself. And the chimney extension is, when we worked on, I also did the Whitney ISP project, but we had to extend the chimney of 739 during that project. So the chimney we see here is actually 739's extended chimney from the Whitney ISP project. So it's already sort of in the DNA of the place at this point. And we think that the context and previous approvals for other locations, this really sort of fits comfortably within that context of how the commission has viewed these kinds of additions over time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Ikumbe, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. And Commissioner Chu, would you second that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Goldblum, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. This is a relatively old building, 1805. It's I recognize the urban conditions cited it by the applicant, but for me, as usual, the reasons for maintaining the top floor rear facade are not solely linked to the presence or absence of a row. They're linked to the desire to maintain a sense of the original volume of the building. And this proposed rear yard addition would completely efface that. And especially for a building of this vintage, I think that that's not appropriate. I think, however, that given the condition of there being a taller building next door, and the other precedents that the applicant cited, I think that the rooftop addition is acceptable. Obviously, if they were to, if others were to concur and they would have to rescale it by reducing the rear portion of it, I think it could be more visible. I think that the applicant has shown, and we've approved plenty of visible rooftop additions in the village, Northlight artist type skylights for others. And I think that that would be appropriate here, but I can't go.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
I agree that I think the rear facade, raising it all the way up is fine with me. My concern is just the rooftop unit, the rooftop penthouse should be reduced inside.
Thank you. Commissioner Chu?
In this case, I tend to feel that the full height rear addition is appropriate because of the hemmed-in condition. You can't see it. It doesn't have a continuity to any house, so I can find that appropriate. I tend to agree that the rooftop feels overly visible on the front facade, and I think that it could be reduced in size.
Thank you. Commissioner Ikumbe?
Overall, I'm in agreement with what is being proposed. I have no issues with the front facade improvements. As for the rear facade, reaching the entire height of the building, I find it acceptable just based off of the transient nature of the block and the surrounding buildings itself. I don't believe that the rooftop addition is too visible from the front. And if
as if the applicant was stating that it was reduced in height, I'm okay with that. But from this oblique view from, I believe it's Bank Street, I probably want to see less visibility of it.
Okay, thank you. Of the penthouse.
Of the penthouse.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wilder?
Yeah, I can find the front facade work to be acceptable. I definitely was on the fence in terms of the full height rear yard addition. I understand that currently it's not visible from the street. But I do believe that there should be something left of its original volume because it's visible from somewhere. And in terms of the rooftop addition, I do believe that because of the visibility from Bank Street, that it should be minimized.
Could you just clarify for us, are you talking about the visibility from Bank, like through that gap that like you
Yeah.
see the back of the rooftop addition?
Yeah.
And also,
Well, both.
okay.
Yeah, because it's really visible from, what is that, west of Washington? Yeah, from that view.
And Commissioner Ikwembe, you also mentioned the visibility from Bank. Did you mean this view or that the gap view over the back or both?
I was thinking more of the gap.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
I tend to agree with Commissioner Chu. I think the rear yard addition is all right. The rooftop addition should be reduced somewhat to lessen its visibility.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahan?
I'm okay with both the rear yard, given the unique circumstances that there is no donut. The rear yard is completely hemmed in. There's no row, and I'm also okay with the rooftop addition as is. The visibility actually, to me, seems modest. The view that was just shown has a strong and varied background, which serves to obscure front of it. I think it's hard to even pick it out.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen?
Since a good number of commissioners are requesting the reduction in the rooftop, I will defer to them on that one.
And how do you feel about the full height rear yard?
Yeah, so that one I'm on the fence. I do see Commissioner Goldblum's point of view, but given the majority feels that it's not really visible at all, given this unusual context that really hemmed in, I can go along with it.
Okay. Commissioner Goldblum, it looks like we actually have the votes for the full height rear yard addition, but we do want to reduce the visibility of the penthouse. Are you okay reading that? Okay. So I think Commissioner Mahan, would you mind reading that motion? It's okay. Yes, right?
Yeah.
In the matter of LPC 26-06015, 739 Washington Street, Greenwich Village Historic District, Greek Revival style row house built in 1845. Application is to construct rooftop and rear yard additions and excavate the rear yard.
I recommend approval, finding that the proposed work will not damage or eliminate any significant architectural features, that the rear yard addition will not be visible from any public thoroughfare, that the proposed rooftop addition will be set back from the front and newly constructed rear facade, thereby recalling aspects of its original massing, that the rear yard addition will not project deeper into the rear yard than the adjacent buildings, that the design and materials of the brick-clad rear yard addition, the two-story glass greenhouse addition, and the stucco-clad rooftop addition will be consistent with rear and rooftop additions found at other buildings of this type within this historic district, and that the excavation and structural work will be designed and conducted in compliance with Department of Buildings regulations under the supervision of a licensed engineer to protect the building and the adjacent buildings. That the building is nestled between two buildings which project more deeply into the yard than this building, that the proposed new plane of the rear facade will align with the adjacent row house to the south, and that the design of the upper floors will match that of the historic rear wall. Therefore, the reconstruction of the top floor at a forward plane will not diminish the special architectural character of the building or its neighbors, and that the applicant will work with staff to reduce the height and therefore visibility of the rooftop addition.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg, would you second that?
Second.
Thank you. And Mark, will you call the vote?
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu, Commissioner Ginsburg,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum, Commissioner Quimby,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson,
Aye.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilder. With 8 in favor and 1 opposed, the motion passes.
That's been approved with modifications. Please work with staff. Let's move to the next item.
Right, next item is public hearing item number 5, LPC 26-07215, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 1218, Lot 54, 164 West 88th Street in the Upper West Side Central Park West Historic District. This is a Renaissance Revival style row house designed by Gilbert A. Schellinger and built in 1890. The application is to construct a stoop and modify the areaway.
Okay, Commissioners, the applicant has entered the hearing. Eric, you now have control of the presentation. Please unmute yourself, state your name for the record, and you may begin.
Hi, good afternoon. Eric Millward from Millward Architecture Design. Thank you for hearing our proposal today. So our project is calls for a new stoop in the Upper West Side Historic Central Park Historic District. As stated before, it is a Gilbert Schellinger design building. It's part of a row of 5 that were built at the same time. There were a combination of dogleg stoops and straight stoops. Currently, our project here, shown on the 4th image here, has the stoop had been removed sometime in the last century, left with this orange brick with a straight entry into the basement level. So our proposal is to recreate the stoop. The original stoop was a dogleg stoop, and for a number of reasons, we're going to propose an alternate stoop configuration, more in line with keeping with the neighboring stoop, the straight run stoops. The sister building that had a dogleg stoop at 158, that dogleg stoop has also been removed and is left without a stoop. Directly to our west is a metal curving stoop. So we're left with the two neighboring to our east, which are the straight run brownstone stoops. So in addition, we're proposing redoing the areaway. Again, removing this, or repairing the existing brick wall, and delineating the area of work We'll be replacing all of the existing orange brick with new brownstoning to match the existing and original. Then with the new areaway and access to the basement level. So one of the reasons we're proposing the straight run stoop is we have a multi-generational client who needs access to the lower level. So by providing a straight run stoop, it really does allow us to provide an ease a ramp down around a planted area, and a more simple straight run stair beside the stoop to the right. Again, seeing in plan the five properties are showing here in red. The straight run stoop really matching with the neighboring properties. And just looking at a rendering of what we're proposing. Again, taking a lot of our cues from the historic properties beside us, matching the piers at the end of the stair, the heights of the cheek walls on the stair, providing a simple flat metal railing inboard of those cheek walls. And then the stair or the ramp down to the garden access would be a tinted concrete around a planted area. Again, looking at some of the detail, what's really nice, we have some really nice precedent of the two neighboring stoops with the inlaid carvings in those piers. So again, we'll be taking some inspiration from those. Again, looking at a bird's eye view, looking down, showing that ramp. We had looked at it doing the dogleg stoop, but the amount of run needed to accommodate the ramp and the required turning radius and landings, the dogleg stoop didn't sort of afford us the correct or the enough horizontal run to allow us to do that. Again, just taking some of the detail and detail from the neighboring fronts. And then looking again at the elevations, again, part of this renovation will also be to replace the existing front doors with some new mahogany and glass doors with a exterior lantern with some back paint and numbering on the transom glass. Okay. And then finally looking at, again, part of the garbage solution would be, again, using that straight understoop to conceal some of the new city bin garbage requirements. Again, you can see some of the rustication we're showing on the side of the stoop, which would be sort of consistent with what the neighboring are showing, and then what we also have on our on the front of the building. Again, proposing a small window at the base underneath that stoop, in keeping with what we're seeing on the other properties. The owners are also here. I think they're in attendance. So I know they'd like to speak a little bit about their property and proposal.
Yeah. So commissioners, my name is Lawrence Davison. I'm the new owner of 164, and it's all for this microphone. My wife is here today. We wanted just to say that we are very mindful of the importance of putting back a stoop onto this property. We want to do so in a way that incorporates the needs of our elderly parents, one of whom is in a motorized scooter and also has a wheelchair. We asked the architects to incorporate that in the design for the stoop. As I mentioned, restoring the stoop is absolutely critical for us in keeping with the historic legacy of the area. Doing that, they've come up with what I think is a good design that incorporates enough space for them to be able to access and have effectively independent lives where they can access the property independently and have light in that garden floor. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Wilder?
Yes, I have a few questions. One, what is the size of the opening to the basement? It looks pretty narrow. Second question is the brick that was the facade where the brick was removed underneath the stoop, is that not going to be visible? And then is the proposed ramp, is it for, I understand your, is it supposed to be ADA or is it just a ramp?
Right. So I'll answer the in order. So the opening is a 3-foot opening at the garden level. The ramp is technically not an ADA compliant. It's a supplemental. It's called a supplemental ramp. And as far as the finish of the brick underneath the stoop, that will be repaired with new brownstoning.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, let's go ahead and turn to the room and see if there's anybody here that would like to speak on this item. Noting that there isn't, let me turn it over to Elizabeth Lee to see if we have any remote testimony.
Those joining via Zoom who wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. You'll be promoted to panelist, after which we ask you to unmute, say your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. The first speaker will be Megan Fitzpatrick.
Hello, Commissioners. Megan Fitzpatrick speaking on behalf of Landmark West. Our Certificate of Appropriateness Committee commends the applicant and building owner for seeking to restore a stooped entrance and step towards returning historic character to this Gilbert Schellinger row. We believe the most appropriate approach would be to reinstall the original dogleg stoop, which was once a defining feature of this row. With thoughtful design, accessibility can still be achieved within this configuration through a sensitively integrated ramp at the basement level. Thank you.
The next speaker will be John Graham.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Graham for the Victorian Society in New York. We support this proposal, but believe it could be improved. We greatly appreciate that a stoop is being restored to this building and that similar materials are being used as the original stoop had. The proposed stoop matches one original stoop on this row. However, it would be preferable to design this new stoop to recreate the 2 angles that were original to the historic stoop on this house. But we can see this shape clearly in the 1940 tax photo. The angles on this historical element were unique, and we suggest they be incorporated into this plan. Thank you, Commissioners.
Anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none, I'll note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 7 recommends approval, as well as 3 individuals recommending approval.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to address any of the comments?
Yeah, just the one. Certainly, we started out wanting to recreate the dogleg stoop, right? That's the easiest path to approval as well. But just recognizing we needed that horizontal run to accommodate that ramp, that we weren't able to make it work with, by going with the dogleg stoop.
Just say, we did engage in quite lengthy explorations of whether that dogleg stoop was going to be possible with the type of access that they need. It was simply not possible.
Thank you. Commissioners, any final questions? Okay, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Ginsburg, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahan, would you second that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Wilder, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. I merely thought about the application a few weeks ago that didn't have any stoops, so I want to I don't know, I think this was a good compromise dealing with the constraints of trying to provide easier access to the basement level, as well as providing the stoop so that it can fill in line with the rest of the block. So I think overall, I can find the project appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Kumbay?
First of all, I'd like to thank the applicant for bringing the stoop back to life. I understand it's not in the dogleg configuration that was there prior. It was definitely a nice detail, but based on the needs of the owner as well, I think it is appropriate to have a accessible way into the garden level. I appreciate the changing out of that orange brick on the front facade. I think turning it back into a brownstone would be a nice effect. I approve the changing of the door out, and overall, I think it's going to be very nice, especially in keeping with the uniformity with what's already on the block.
Thank you. Commissioner Chu?
Yeah, I think this is a great project to restore the stoop that was taken away, and I think it's a big improvement to the exterior facade of this house. Yes, as mentioned before, as unique and interesting as the dogleg stoop is, I think what's being proposed is appropriate. I can approve this.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
Appropriate.
Commissioner Goldblum? Commissioner Chen? Commissioner Mahan?
Appropriate and also very clever. I appreciated this.
Yeah, great. Commissioner Ginsburg?
I agree, appropriate, and providing handicapped accessibility in this way is quite elegant.
Thank you. Commissioner Wilder, would you like to read the motion?
In the matter of LPC -26-07215, 164 West 88th Street, Upper West Side, Central Park, West Historic District, a Renaissance revival style row house designed by Gilbert A. Schellinger and built in 1890. Application is to construct a stoop and modify the areaway. I recommend approval, finding that the proposed reinstallation of a stoop will not eliminate any significant later alterations, and that the cellar windows and ironwork to be removed are small in scale and difficult to see from the street. That installing a straight stoop rather than a box stoop will not affect an intact rhythm within the row. That the new stoop will be in keeping with the historic straight run stoops in the row in terms of placement, design, materials, and details. That the reconfiguration of the areaway and areaway wall featuring bluestone tinted concrete steps and ramp, a planter box, and black finished metal railings will be in keeping with the variety of areaway materials and conditions found within the row, and will not alter the apparent areaway grade. That the simple design and neutral finish of the metal fence installed at the top of the areaway wall and metal railing installed inboard of the stoop walls will relate well to the building and will be in keeping with the various ironwork found on the block. That the presence of the modified stoop and areaway wall will facilitate the restoration of facade details removed from the building prior to the designation of the historic district, and will return the building and the row closer to its original appearance. And that the proposed work will not detract from the special architectural character of the building, the row, or the historic district.
Thank you. Commissioner Kumbay, would you second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. And Mark, will you call the vote?
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginsburg,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum, Commissioner Kemble,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson, Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilder. With 9 in favor, none opposed, the motion passes.
That's been approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's move to the next item.
All right. And I did note this earlier before the lunch break, but hearing item number 6 is going to be read into the record and not presented today. That was LPC 26-06719, 61 West 90th Street in the Upper West Side Central Park West Historic District. Again, reading that into the record to be presented at a future date. Testimony will also be taken at that time. However, if there is anyone in the hearing room that was here to testify on 61 West 90th Street, let yourself be known. Seeing there's none, I'll ask Stephen Thompson to see if anyone may be on Zoom for those purposes.
Those joining via Zoom who wish to speak, please use the raise hand function.
All right. No one on Zoom either, so we'll move to the last item of the day. That's public hearing item number 7, LPC 26-06324, an application for a certificate of appropriateness, number of Manhattan, block 1184, lot 1. 3 Riverside Drive, the Kleberg Residence, individual landmark, also in the West End Collegiate Historic District Extension. This is a French Renaissance Revival style townhouse designed by CPH Gilbert and built in 1896 to 98. The application is to construct a rooftop addition, alter the areaway, and replace windows. I think we need to pause for just a moment for staff to get back down. I think they didn't realize we had the gap in the agenda due to the item being read into the record. So break for just a minute. And you can begin when ready. Thanks.
Yes. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Mary Langan from O'Neill Langan Architects, and I'll be presenting today. It's 3 Riverside Drive, as stated, the Kleberg Residence. The building was built between 1896 and 1898. It's at the corner, as you bend the corner from 72nd Street going on to Riverside Drive. We are seeking a certificate of appropriateness for a rooftop bulkhead addition to house an elevator, mechanical equipment at the rear of the building, and a plein air pergola. We're also asking for certificate of appropriateness to replace a second floor rear window, which I'll show you in the presentation. It's not visible from the street. And then we are also asking for a certificate of appropriateness to reconstruct the historical front areaway of the building. The building was, the prior owner to the building did a significant excavation in the building, and it was abandoned in 2019. My client bought it, and the way it was left in 2019, it was basically left as a facade retention project. So all of the floor plates, the entire building was stripped out. And so we are trying to save this building. I'd like to make that very clear to all of you. And my client is committed to do that. He has fallen in love with the building. He is an Upper West Side resident. The building excavation was made by the prior owner to put a pool and a basketball court in. And it was a 40-foot excavation. So the building is now being held together with shoring and a lot of steel, and we're replacing all the floors, and that work has started. My client is a composer, and he is going to repurpose that basketball court and pool to become a recording studio. He is also going to use the first floor as a recital space. My client has multiple sclerosis. He is very involved in the MS Society. He has been honored by the society, and he does partake in a lot of fundraising for the society around the city. He performs at Lincoln Center. He performs at Carnegie Hall. He just did a MS Society recital at the Church of the Intercession on 155th Street in the Crypt. So he's not, he's for real. So he would like to use this building to play his music. And so that's the reason for his love of this building and his kind of goal here to enjoy it. As you can see here, we have the historical map. We're showing the building. As you turn the corner, sorry. So the building is located here as you turn the corner onto Riverside Drive, right across from the entrance to the park. Looks over onto the statue of Eleanor Roosevelt across the street. It is very visible as you drive onto the West Side Highway. It's also very visible from the 72nd Street approach down toward the river views. There are actually three other CPH Gilbert buildings, sister buildings, and there's the building One Riverside and the other buildings on 72nd Street. They do have active areaways very similar to the one that we're proposing to restore. Right. And you can see those here. This is our building here. This was when it was covered up with scaffolding when we first took it over. That scaffolding has been removed now. And then we have One Riverside here, and we have 5 Riverside to the north. We have the Islamic Cultural Center, which is another historic CPH Gilbert building, and then we have the other ones on 72nd Street here. And you'll see this is the areaway that's been maintained that I'm talking about. Our proposal for our bulkhead, which you'll see later on in the presentation in the axonometrics that we've prepared, we've located the elevator bulkhead extension, which is what rises up out of our building. We've located it about 50 feet back, and we've located it within the building in the place where the excavation the prior owner did. We've located it in the same place. So we have made conscious effort not to do more excavation to this building. We're trying to leave the building alone, if you will. So we're using the excavation location that was planned by the prior owner for the elevator bulkhead. These are the historic photos that we found. You can see here along Riverside Drive, we found this photo that shows the old areaway extension, the old newels and baluster. This one was destroyed by the prior owner. We are putting it back. And then we would like to reconstruct the areaway wall here. We believe this was an existing coal chute here, and there was some kind of an entry here. The vault stairs here still do exist. We are asking that we continue the limestone wall along this space here. I'll show you that later in the presentation and explain to you why. You can see here where 5 Riverside was constructed. This is prior to having 1 Riverside constructed. I believe this photo was taken before the prior owner did their demolition work to the building. And you can see the loggias and the there's a space between our building and 1 Riverside. This is currently what the entrance looks like. The good news about the building is that the limestone detailing, all the gargoyles, the terracotta roof, all of the detailing around the window is in very good condition. This drawing here, you can see the building section outlined in the bright blue, and then the green shows the elevator extension, and then the green diagram here is showing the open air roof pergola that at the rear of the building that we're asking to add here. The light gray here shows the guard that we're planning to add on the roof here. I would like to note in this slide that the building has a multi-level roof that exists. So there's on the roof level, the first level that you approach at the rear is at a lower level. It's 4 feet below the level of the roof that's closer to Riverside Drive. The next slide we show here, this project has been before the commission before by the prior owner, and it did receive a certificate of appropriateness for an elevator bulkhead extension. So the middle slide is that proposal. We are asking for a further extension. The prior extension for the elevator bulkhead extended 16'3" above the existing terracotta roof ridge line. Ours goes to 19'10". Reason our elevator bulkhead extends up higher is because our elevator needs to go to both of those roof levels in order for my client who is disabled to be able to reach that upper level roof. So our elevator has 2 doors. It has a front door and a side door, if you will, so that it can empty out in 2 different directions. And it's also big enough to be ADA accessible. We searched high and low for the smallest elevator we could find, and hence the shortest elevator we could find, and this is the one that we could find. But the reason for this slide is to show you the prior approval from the prior owner. We are showing in this elevation, this is the guardrail here that will be a stainless steel cable rail. And then we are also showing the plein air roof pergola. So this area here, which sits behind the terracotta roof line, behind the ridge line, is an open air covered roof pergola. So it opens toward the front, toward Riverside Drive, and then there is a stair up to the roof that divides it from the rear area. So it opens to the front toward Riverside Drive and also to the rear yard. Section here is showing the blue line, which is showing the prior commission's approval, and then it is showing our proposal. So it is showing the front of the building, the limestone facade and dormers, and then it's also showing the elevator bulkhead, mechanical equipment in the back, and then this is the open air. So this is a roof structure here, the pergola. So this is open, and you can look out over the roofscape, but it's set back. And then this is the stair bulkhead. This is the rear. It's also open to the rear yard. And this is a view from the park. So this is the sight line up toward the bulkhead. And here you can also see in green the areaway extension at the front of the building. So the materials that we are proposing, we're proposing to use a stucco that's very much the same coloration and texture as the limestone that exists on the building. This would be for the elevator bulkhead here at the bottom. And then we are also proposing to use real limestone. I'm sorry, that's the stucco color. We're proposing to use limestone to match the limestone of the building for the front areaway extension wall and for the newel posts and the balustrade that comes off of the front entryway. There will be a security gate to enter down into the front entryway stair, and that will be of wrought iron painted black. Again, would be the stucco color that we would use for the elevator bulkhead. The windows, which are under a different, a separate application and have been already approved, are to be painted Benjamin Moore black. And then we're proposing for the standing seam metal roof for the pergola, the Sheffield metal, the brown. For the cable railing, the guard, we're proposing a stainless steel. And then for our HVAC equipment, we're proposing a neutral color metal painted baffle that would also blend in with the color of the limestone of the building. This slide, I think, is particularly important to note. It really shows, this is the existing building, and it shows the character of the existing building and its importance. And it also shows our rooftop addition and how we have strategically placed it more than 50 feet back from the facade, the roof lines, the terracotta roof, and the ridge lines of the building, such that it's meant to blend in with what's happened around this building and historically what's happened to the city. So that our goal here was that by adding this addition toward the back of the building, one wouldn't really discern whether or not from the street this addition was part of this building, these buildings behind it, the neighboring buildings. So that we really wanted to preserve the language of what was happening with the facade and the side facade and the gap between our building and One Riverside. So that we really wanted to preserve this element as it was and let these other blocks sit further back and into the distance of the cityscape. Are the proposed existing and proposed floor plans, and you can see where this element of the elevator tower sits within the footprint of the building. And then this is where that stairway that goes up to the roof level sits within the footprint of the building. This is the condition of the roof as it stands now. It does have that dual level. This is the existing skylight that's on the roof now, which will be taken out, and we will be putting a flat skylight in. For the photos of the mock-up, so this is the ridge level. This is the plein air pergola that we're showing. Oh, sorry. Okay. Photos of the mock-ups. Oops. These are photos of the mock-up from the park area and then a rendering of the same view. My client is very green. He would like to put solar panels on the side of the elevator bulkhead. The rear of the building, where we would propose and we would like to replace the window, the second floor window, with a casement window. We found a casement window in the building, and we would like to replace the window that's there, or there's no window there now, but replace it with a casement window in lieu of the double hung. This is the view to the rear of the building from West End Avenue. Showing what that window would be. This is the front areaway. So this would show the demarc of where that areaway would fall within the sidewalk. This is the existing stair that does exist now, the vault stair that we're looking to replace. So we are looking to push the areaway out further than the historical. The reason for that being that we would like to make this a legal entrance, so we do need the 3'8" clearance here. We're also trying to alleviate having to excavate further below the foundation wall of the front of the building. So in order to do that, we needed to have a stair that we could first start the stair this way, move down toward the north, and then get underneath the building without doing any further excavation under this wall of the building. And that wrought iron security gate I was talking about before would be here. These are the plans for restoring that newel post and balustrade. So you would enter through here, come down a few steps, and then really enter down and have a proper entrance into the cellar level of the building, and then you could enter the recording studio and the sub-cellar from this entrance. And this is the piece that we found missing and that we would love to restore and put back in its place. For context of the other similar areaway around the corner on 72nd Street. Similar areaways within the district.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Goldblum?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that the photo that showed the areaways, the limestone wall and the areaway did not have those posts. And are you adding those? Did I miss that? Or was
They
that
had
original?
less, yes.
They had fewer. I just why change it?
We would be open to discussing that. We were looking to make it symmetrical about this part of the building. I believe they had 2 less than we have.
Mhm.
Yes, but we would be open to looking at that.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Ginsburg?
It seems you're putting solar panels on the north side of the elevator bulkhead, which means it's not going to get much sunlight. Am I missing something?
South and the
South
west.
and west.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And Commissioners, I just wanted to clarify one other thing before there may be a question about it. The reason you're looking at those 2 windows at the rear of the building is because they were historically curved sash windows. They're not there now, but because we know that's what they were, I think there may be others in the floors above or below, something like that. The staff rules would require that they be put back. And that's why you're looking at them, because they're not seeking to put back curved sashes. They want to put straight sash casement windows. But again, in this case, those are not visible and they're at the rear facade.
Any other questions? Commissioner Chu?
Yeah, you were emphasizing the importance of getting accessibility to all the floors and the different roof levels. The front door is not accessible.
The front door, the risers are 4 inches each, and so it's a foot, and my client can manage that. And while he does plan to use the home and has many people enter the home from the MS Society, they are planning to use a temporary ramp. Because it's only 4-inch risers.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Mayen?
That was one of my questions. My other question is on slide 206, A206. What is that illustrating?
These are the zoomed in views.
What is that a rendering of? What is mocked up there?
So in this view here, you're seeing, this is, I believe, the railing from Riverside Park.
Looks. That's a guardrail? In fact, it looks.
Yeah,
Right.
it looks very big.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
enormous.
And then this is probably the top of the bulkhead, I think.
Well, that's the mock-up of the thing that you rendered in two. So those are the same thing, presumably. I mean, that must be, yeah.
Any other questions, commissioners? Oh, Commissioner Kumbay?
So I guess overall, I'm assuming that the elevator is a traction elevator.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm looking at the pergola. Is the reason why it's sloped for the solar panels?
We sloped it because we wanted to keep it low toward the street. And then we sloped it up toward the rear yard because we wanted to, minimize how much you saw it. And then also for the solar, but also because of the visibility.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let's go ahead and turn to public testimony. We have two people signed up to speak. I'll call your name and then you can come up to the podium, state your name, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Let me start with, is it Madge Rosenberg?
Oh, right there. First, commendations on this great work to restore and renovate this building, except for the top that's been added to an already large bulkhead that was up there that was approved by Landmarks, and then they're planning to do an additional 5 feet on top of that. And this is an area, this is a building that's visible from the public way from 72nd Street, Riverside Drive, Riverside Park, Eleanor Roosevelt Park, and that addition is very visible. Several of us have walked by there. Sorry, I'm a member of Community Board 7, but I'm here as an individual, not for the Community Board. And we were told by some architect on the board that it's possible to do this kind of availability of the elevator, the access, without doing this additional rooftop bulkhead, that it could be done from the interior and still be maneuverable, maybe more expensive, but it can be done. The additional 5 feet requested for the roof can be provided in the interior. The bulkhead is appropriate as designed by LPC, but LPC should choose to reduce the height of this as much as possible because it's so visible. Also, we're interfering with the beautiful facade of this building with this wonderful gabled roof, and this is sort of overwhelming it. So the request is that the additional height be done away with the very innovative addition provided from interior, or that it be minimalized because it's just too much. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Chloe Newitt.
Hi, thanks for having me. Like my colleague, I am a member of Community Board 7 of its Preservation Committee. I'm here as an individual. Last week, I submitted written testimony to you in opposition to the elevator bulkhead. The reason I've come to speak in person today is that it is so large, so visible from such important public thoroughfares, including Riverside Park, and so, in my view at least, and I hope yours, entirely inappropriate in its size and placement and what it does to the visibility of this fabulous, exuberant, otherwise pristine in terms of its facade, building from an individual landmark from the turn of the last century. I am aware, of course, as is my colleague, that some years ago, LPC, the commission as it was then constituted, I know you've got some different members now, did approve an elevator bulkhead that was, as described to us, 5 feet lower, smaller footprint, It sat up there. Whether that was a good decision or a bad decision, it wasn't built. And if it had been built, we wouldn't be here today. This owner now, and with all sympathy to his medical condition and his concerns about how he chooses to use the house, it is certainly our understanding that there are ways with mechanical assistance, whether it's an elevator, a lift, some combination of whatever, a different kind of elevator, to get to the roof for people without having this massive, very visible intrusion over the otherwise pristine roof line and gable of this house. When we asked initially, and it was good presentation, was good here today too. When we asked the applicant's representative why this larger footprint and 5-foot taller bulkhead from what had been approved before, the answer was to get a grand piano to the roof. And, you know, that's not a reason to do this. This is now an empty house. It's going to be completely renovated. It's got 4 or 5 stories where the front rooms can be configured anyway to have a piano in any of those, have your soirees, have your concerts inside the building or on the roof, but minus the grand piano. So that's really why I'm here, to emphasize that I'm a neighbor, by the way, an immediate opposite neighbor, and for over 40 years, and almost 50, I've had the constant pleasure of looking at this pristine, fabulous facade, as have thousands and thousands of people who use Riverside Park and its primary entrance, and 72nd Street, where I live. So that experience of seeing this pristine facade minus the bulkhead is what I think you should preserve. By the rest of the application, good or bad, some of it seems to be quite good, but the bulkhead, in my view, is just way inappropriate because of its size and its extreme visibility on this sextuple landmark corner. We're in a landmark district. We have 4 individual landmarks, none of which have anything like this on the roof. And we have the primary super duper entrance to Riverside Park there too.
Thank you very much. Noting that there isn't anybody else in the room who would like to speak on this item, I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth Lee to see if we have any remote testimony.
Those joining via Zoom who wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. You'll be promoted to panelist, after which we ask you to unmute, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. The first speaker will be Megan Fitzpatrick.
Hello, Commissioners. Megan Fitzpatrick speaking on behalf of Landmark West. Our Certificate of Appropriateness Committee would like to speak on this proposal, which engages both landmark preservation and accessibility. We appreciate the applicant team for presenting the project and for their clarifications throughout our review. Unlike the 2018 proposal, which resulted in abandonment, prolonged neglect, and cultural vandalism from inappropriate work, today we are encouraged to see investment in this individual landmark, and we commend the current owner's commitment to restoring it to a livable condition. Overall, the committee is supportive of the proposal. We offer 3 recommendations for the Commission and the applicant's consideration. First, we suggest exploring low or no glare finish for the solar panels mounted vertically on the elevator enclosure, as this may help minimize their visibility from a distance. Second, setting back the cable railing at the front of the roof, even by a modest amount, could further reduce its visible presence from the public way. Finally, we recommend simplifying the design of the areaway by reducing the number of proposed newels. As presented, there are 7 newels along the property edge. Our committee believes this interrupts the historic rhythm of the facade. A configuration of 3 newels within the connected wall, 1 at each end and 1 centered near the stair, would create a clearer composition of 3 bays, 2 closed, 1 open, aligning more closely with the historic conditions. Thank you.
The next speaker will be the Historic Districts Council.
Emma Bartley, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. HDC finds the proposed areaway alterations and window replacement appropriate. but remains concerned about the visibility of the rooftop addition, particularly the guardrail and elevator bulkhead. As always, accessibility is paramount to HDC when reviewing applications, but asks if any adjustments can be made to the rooftop elements to further minimize visibility while still providing full access. Thank you.
The next speaker will be John Graham.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Graham for the Victorian Society in New York. The Victorian Society finds the visible rooftop addition inappropriate. The architecturally interesting and complex roof of this individual landmark should continue to stand unencumbered by any visible rooftop additions. This is especially true because of its highly visible and prominent site on Riverside Drive across from Riverside Park. The proposed areaway wall is appropriate in concept, as it is similar to the original wall. However, it appears that the proposed wall is taller than the original. It also appears more massive because it is continuous and eliminates what appear to be gated openings in the center and at the north service entrance. It would also add 2 heavy newel posts to what were originally only 4. These changes make the proposed wall appear too massive for the house and its setting. We recommend following the original design more closely, both in height and configuration. Thank you, Commissioners.
Anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none, a note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 7 recommends mixed approval of the proposed areaway, but denial of the proposed bulkhead unless the material is changed to brick to match the southern exposure of 5 Riverside Drive and the height is reduced.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to respond to any of the comments?
No, we have no comment.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any final questions? Commissioner Mahan?
Why is the additional height required on the bulkhead now over what was previously approved?
It is because of the elevator, and that the elevator, I don't know the elevator spec from the prior applicant, but ours needs to be ADA compliant for my client. And so that is the elevator that we can find that complies. And we have searched high and low, so I'm not sure where the information was given to CB7, but
You know the overrun over the upper topmost landing to the
from the upper level of the roof, do I know the overrun? No, I don't know the height overrun over that.
15 feet to the roof of the bulkhead according to the drawings. More or
I
less.
think she said to the ridge line of the roof.
From the ridge line, it's 1910
Oh, thank you.
for ours. Yeah, from the prior proposal, it was 16'3".
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, from the ridge line to the top of our bulkhead is a 19'10" projection. From the prior, yeah.
Did you ever look at a hydraulic?
We cannot use a height. We searched for the lowest possible elevator we could find. We went to Schindler, to everyone we could.
What's wrong with the hydraulic?
We couldn't use it. It didn't, the height restriction, it didn't comply. Yes, I realize that, but this was the only one we could find.
Any other questions? Okay, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Chen, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So move.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahan, would you second that?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Ikumbe, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. Yes, first of all, thank you for bringing this application to us. I am actually very excited to see such a building being preserved. I think it has an assortment of wonderful details and so many that are intact. But I think because of that, I think that should also be our spring point in which how we choose to actually add potential additions and make modifications. For the front areaway, I see it a nice gesture to bring back what was there before. But I believe it can do some fine tuning, just to make sure it sings the remnants of the past. I guess also, keeping in alignment with that, the rear window being changed out to a casement window, I would actually look into that a little further, of actually maybe if that's the only location that's really been altered that much, I would look at trying to preserve it back to its original state. I know it's in an area that is not seen and visible, but I think just because of the amount of the building that has already been preserved, I think it's actually worth it. And I guess the biggest issue here is the rooftop addition and the bulkhead. Overall, I think it needs to be just scaled back in overall. It should be very minimal in scale, in material, even in its configuration, especially based off of the building that it's set against. This would include the top railing. I believe that the cable railing is not the best choice to kind of actually set off from the existing structure. I understand the use of sustainability and utilizing the solar panels. I would remove them from the bulkhead and potentially just the general workaround, just to make things a little more subdued.
Thank you. Commissioner Chu?
Yeah, so again, I want to echo the comment that this is a beautiful, beautiful house, and commend the client for taking on the challenge to restoring it as much as possible. We look at the different issues being proposed. I'll start with the areaway. It's tricky. I mean, it's the evidence on site shows that there's other buildings that have done a similar move. In this specific situation, it does intrude into the sidewalk quite a bit because of the current day condition. I do think that the applicant is going to have to look at this both in elevation. There were comments made about the elevation of it's essentially a guardrail because it's a tall drop on the other side of it. These are things that existed in a lot of our historic buildings, and most of them were filled in. This is an interesting case where we're bringing it back again. So the context has changed around it, so I just think it's going to need a little finessing here. The other things that were raised in the proposal, the guardrail up at the roof, I think either it needs to be changed in its detailing, and I also believe it needs to be pushed back. The image showed clearly that it was way too prominent up against the roof profile and looked very tall because I think it's right at the edge there, and I think it needs to recess. It's too visible. Overall, the upper portion, the additions added, I feel like there are just too many accretions and they don't really work together. I understand and appreciate the attempt to pitch the roof on the side piece, the pergola, to minimize its view, but I think as a group, it just looks a bit messy up there, and I think it should be simplified. It just looks jarring in comparison to the beautiful historic structure that's under it. The bulkhead, I think, many comments have been made. I've used tractions that were less overrun than this. I'm sure it exists. The hope here is to really minimize the height. I think that the previously approved one, I mean, that was approved. I think that's highly preferable to this. The point here is really to not draw attention to this. I think that the reactions to putting the solar panels, all that, just draw a lot of attention to it. I would even say there was a color indicated to match the limestone. I wouldn't do that at all. I think that you want it to recede and not to pop forward. All your views showed that anything shown there is seen in the backdrop of buildings with brick fabric. I would choose something that would really minimize it and let it camouflage into its background as opposed to popping it forward. Would think it's not helping you. The rear facade window, I tend to agree with my fellow commissioner. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more investigation there. That there's so many unique details in this house, and as much as we can retain them, it'd be fantastic. Again, I commend the client here for doing all this work. This is a big challenge. I think it could be a wonderful project. What's going on inside, could be really interesting, but I think on the outside, we just need to control some of these expansions that seem out of scale for the historic house.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
My fellow commissioner covered all the ground. I think the roof is overprogrammed and maybe should be reduced in scale. All the other issues were pretty much covered except for the elevator. The elevator, the solar panels inappropriate right at that point. And maybe if it fits into the background, brick or some color, it would work better. I think those are my two reactions.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum?
Thanks. I agree with my fellow commissioners. I think that the areaway should be simplified. The historic areaway had a post at either end and then a smooth wall in between with a gap for a doorway and then another post. Since there's going to be no doorway and no post, I think one should err on the side of simplicity. Post on one end, post on the other end, smooth in the middle, call it a day. I think that was most similar to the historic condition. In terms of the rear window, there's two windows involved. One looks like it's a flat window, and one would be the radius, I think, unless they're both, were they both radiused? Is that the thinking? Huh? So then, yeah, they should look at trying to find windows that would recreate that. I agree with what everyone was saying about the rooftop. The solar panel should go. Brick is the material. I think if you really wanted to go nuts on the solar, you could put the solar up against your north party wall, vertically placed facing south. You really wouldn't see them from too many places. They could go down low. The ones, they just will act as a beacon up there. I just think it's a mistake. And the railing should go back. We've found in the experience here is that stainless steel as a finished color, it tends to be very visible from a very long distance, whereas black painted metal tends to be much less visible. It's just, that's we've seen a lot of, but I think you got to push it back. The entirety of that roof need not be fenced.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen?
Share the sentiments of the other fellow commissioners. I think that they are clearly, as Michael just mentioned, the handrail is highly visible, and the choice of material needs to be modified. The rooftop really is a concern, and I think that should be reduced. I'll be very curious to find out, that overhead traction, why we approve at 16 feet and then it cannot work. It have to be now at 19. So, but I agree with the comments of the commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahan?
I pretty much agree with everything that's been said, but perhaps I'll reiterate a few thoughts nonetheless. Several architects on the commission here, the elevator overrun doesn't, seem to pass the smell test. Not claiming to be a elevator consultant, but I think that needs to be proven out a bit more if indeed that height is required. I think it cannot be clad in photovoltaic panels. It needs to be clad in something that is recessive and will, read as a part of the background tall buildings behind the building. The guardrail visible on A206 is much too visible. It should be pushed back, and a different material should be considered. All that being said, I thought Commissioner Chu made a very good point and about the accretions on the rooftop, and it reminded me that Commissioner Goldblum frequently reminds us that we're tasked with preserving the entire building, whether you can see it or not. And I think the kind of the lack of a like coherent organizing logic for these rooftop additions is not doing this absolutely incredible individual landmark any favors. And we would, yeah, I don't think we'd be holding up our mission to approve something with without a bit more sort of thought given to the relationship of one to another. The areaway is fine, but should be simpler, as others would say. I would also note, although it's not proposed, given the significant investment that must be a part of this project, and the kind of perhaps not public, but event, that will be events that will be held here, and the number of visitors that it was sort of suggested will be made, not upgrading, the entrance to be fully accessible, seems to perhaps be a misplayed note, and in terms of cost, certainly a rounding error in the scope of this project. So something that might be worth more thought.
Thank you, Commissioner Ginsburg.
So I'm not going to repeat a lot of things my fellow commissioners have said that I agree with, but I want to make a few points. With the elevator, if it only stopped at the lower level, some sort of lift could be then installed to get you up to the upper level, which would take height off of that bulkhead. I also think there may be elevators with a lower height. I'm not sure this works, but there are solar panel companies who will make a solar panel of any color and print any image on it. So instead of having a black panel, you could have something brick colored. You could even print bricks on it, although that would probably be hokey. Yeah, but the reflective nature, et cetera, and it isn't that many panels, that it probably just doesn't make sense to have solar panels there. And I think if it was then the whole discussion of simplifying the rooftop and making the materiality of it much simpler would, I think, help.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do today is take, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Stephen. Oh, Commissioner Wilder, I'm sorry.
You can continue. I agree with everybody else.
So I think what we're going to do today is take no action. But I think you've heard a lot of the comments that the commissioners have made, and I think, they were fairly consistent. So I think you can probably work with staff and address some of those concerns, and we can bring you back. Okay. So I think that's it for us. So that concludes our public hearing and public meeting for April 7th, 2026. Thank you all for your participation, and we will see everybody next Tuesday, April 14th, for our next public hearing and public meeting.